Whenever I hear conversations about Yu-Gi-Oh, I always hear a sarcastic rhetorical question thrown around. Remember when special summoning was actually special? To first address this, I think it's important to take a step back and fully understand what's being said. The message appears clear. Special summoning has become commonplace and lost its original touch. But how the statement is delivered will explain the meaning. Because of the expression being commonly sarcastic, the statement is associated with a negative connotation, that the special summoning of today is leading the game to being oversaturated with cards that purely special summon. And after each wave of new card types, this very statement is used. The sentiment of Xyz or Synchro ruining the game has been prevalent since the existence of those cards, and it continues to be prevalent with each new mechanic added to the game. Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, Pendulum, and Link summoning are all different variations of special summoning, and the statement starts to be fully realized. The statement boldly plants this covert meaning. It says, the game wasn't oversaturated before these mechanics were introduced, and that, before those specific cards, the game was better. But I'm here to explain why this is the wrong take to have. Special summoning has always existed in the history of the game, and the Yu-Gi-Oh of today is just building on what was always there. There was never a time since the meta of Yu-Gi-Oh was analyzed that special summoning wasn't involved. To explain, let's take a look at Yu-Gi-Oh's oldest metas. When people often mention a respected time in Yu-Gi-Oh, they often mean the acclaimed GOAT format. GOAT format is a time in Yu-Gi-Oh roughly spanning between April through August of 2005's ban list. The main meta during that time was a deck called GOAT Control, and the deck was... let's take a look at it. Think about the most controlling person in your life. Okay, now think about if they played Yu-Gi-Oh, sat across from you, and made you dislike the game that you liked. That's basically GOAT Control. It controlled every aspect of the game at the time. It had board clear, back row removal, it changed your card's positions and removed them or did piercing damage to draw. It stole your monsters, it controlled your hand size. It was the scariest deck at the time, and to even get close to its power, you had to mimic it. Looking at other top decks at the time like Thunder Dragon Chaos or Anti-Meta Warriors, the decks included many of the same cards used in the GOAT Control deck, and thus the GOAT format was born, an intense meta based on out-controlling the opponent. Many would often describe this period as being the most skill-based time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Primarily because the matches were extremely resource-consuming. Remember, this was a meta of control decks. These matches weren't just you slamming powerful beat sticks onto your board, and winning because your monsters had higher base attacks. These were games that took long because they required you to learn tempo in the game. They taught you to find a way to remove or take something without using too much. But there's a problem in praising this period. You see, GOAT format was a special summoning frenzy during the time. BLS, Envoy of the Beginning, Chaos Sorcerer, Scapegoat, Call of the Haunted, Premature Burial, Metamorphosis. This time was teeming with creativity based around playing these big special summoning monsters. For instance, in Thunder Dragon Chaos and other Chaos decks at the time, they would often find ways to create a setup for BLS or Chaos Sorcerer. For comparison, Instant Fusion, which was essentially a one-card ring for Xyz summon, was considered skillless by veteran players. But by that very logic, using a Sinister Serpent or any of these cards into a Metamorphosis is also skillless. In both scenarios, one card single-handedly allows you to change the tides of a match. It's also important to mention that Chaos decks weren't even created during 2005. No, there was one Chaos card that changed Yu-Gi-Oh! Forever, and it was only 1 year ago in 2004. Yes, Chaos Dragon Emperor. It was the most OP card at the time. In August of 2004, Konami created its first ban list, in which Yatagarasu, Sangan, Witch of the Black Forest, and Chaos Dragon Emperor were crowned as the first to ever get banned. This was because of the legendary Yatagarasu lockdown. The Yatagarasu lock, for those unaware, was a combo deck where with a 3-card combo you could basically win the entire game. You would start by using Painful Choice and choose to discard 2 lights, Sangan, Witch of the Black Forest, and any other card. Then you would use Monster Reborn to bring back either Sangan or Witch of the Black Forest onto the board. Finally, you special summon Chaos Emperor, pay the 1000 life points and nuke both players' hands and fields. Then using either the Sangan or Witch of the Black Forest, you special summon with Monster Reborn, you search out Yatagarasu, and finally you normal summon Yatagarasu and attack. This makes it so your opponent skips out on their draw phase, and so you lock them in with no hand. And each turn you summon Yatagarasu, you would slowly chip away at their health to 0. I hope looking at some of the oldest metas in Yu-Gi-Oh! You can understand what I'm saying from this. Yu-Gi-Oh! Even from the beginning was always about special summoning. Even in the original Yu-Gi-Oh!, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Monster Reborn, Black Luster Soldier, and so many other cards that special summon made the show what it was. Yu-Gi-Oh! At heart is much like every other card game in which it's a game about resources. The point of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is to beat your opponent by reducing the life points to 0, and from the oldest metas we can see that it's always been about finding ways to get resource advantages. This is done in ways such as adding or drawing cards, destroying or attacking your opponent's cards, and so on. So adding in cards that will let you special summon along with normal summon will naturally be a great resource. You can theoretically get more on the board than your opponent if your deck has more special summoning than your opponent's. And we can see that that's exactly what was going on back then. Whether you nuked your enemy's hands and fields with an insane special summon, or whether you use Metamorphosis to steal your enemy's monsters, this game has always used special summoning to find advantages, and that's Yu-Gi-Oh's identity. It's been like this since 2004. So when you see new special summoning methods like Synchro or Xyz or Pendulum or Lynx, it's really just enhancing what Yu-Gi-Oh was. It's still a game about special summoning and beating your opponents and resources, but now it's just additions to make the games go by faster than the painfully sluggish games in older days.